The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Josh LeMaster. I'm the Chief Financial Officer and one of the co-founders of Perfect Golf Event. Appreciate everybody taking some time. It's September 25th, beautiful Thursday afternoon here in Northeast Florida, where I'm headquartered. And also, I'm going to introduce in a second here Eric Anderson, who's also headquartered in this area. I guess before I do that, let me take a minute and just tell you why we're here. We being Perfect Golf Event. This is our 10th year and have worked with tens of thousands of events over the years. Mostly fundraising events, but all kinds of golf events. And we were always looking for ways that those events can reduce their risks. A lot of them are doing this once a year, and they need it to be successful. They count on the fundraising income, and one of the things that came up a lot is weather and specifically rain. And event cancellation insurance was always has always been around. It seemed to be a bit cumbersome for a lot of our organizers of our events, and then we met Eric and we met Vortex Weather Insurance, who happened to be in the area. And what you'll hear from Eric is the ways that they're different than event cancellation insurance. Much easier to work with, and what we think is a much better way to mitigate the risk of rain for golf events. So today I'm here to kind of coordinate. At the end of things, you're going to get a copy of everything you see on the screen. You're going to get a recording that you can play on YouTube. You will have our contact information. If you have a question that you maybe want to direct more at Perfect Golf Event, I'm happy to answer anything. And then Eric will, from Vortex. We'll save a few minutes at the end for questions. I'll be monitoring if you raise your hand or chat, I'll be monitoring that. So please jump in if something's not clear to you. And I guess the last thing I would add, Perfect Golf Event, the work that we do is, providing a software platform to enable, promotion of events and easy event registrations. And then we have lots of products and services that we offer, including hole-in-one insurance and other things. But one of the things we did this year, which was different, was any upgraded software customer of ours actually is getting Vortex insurance automatically with one of their upgrades. It's not enough to fully cover the risk of the event, but at least it's something that if there is rain, it just automatically pays out to our Eagle and higher upgraded packages. So if you go look at Perfect Golf Event, you'll see that if you do one of those, you at least get something, might 1,000, 1,500 or more. And then you've got some protection in place, and that happens automatically, which you'll hear Eric talk about. But I guess with all that said, I'll be quiet for a bit. I'll be watching the chat, and let me introduce Eric Anderson with Vortex Weather.
Josh, thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. This is Eric Anderson with Vortex Weather Insurance. Thank you for joining today. Like Josh said, we're going to go over things for about 20 minutes, so not that long. And then we're going to do a little Q&A, and then Josh will follow up and send you the deck and the recording so you have it. Thank you again for joining. We've got a really big group today across the country. And as Josh said, we've been partners now. This is our 4th year partnering with Perfect Golf, and Josh and his team. They're fantastic, the best in the business. And so excited, this is our 1st year, like he said, to have the embedded weather protection piece with the Eagle, Double Eagle, and Ace, which is basically from 10 to 2 on a ½ an inch of coverage. But then usually most events are calling me to add more coverage, and I can help you with that afterwards. I hope to speak with all of you through email, text, or you can give me a call. I can price up your event and walk you through all the different ways that we can help protect your event. So to get started here, as we get into the presentation, I want you to think whether you're a first-time organizer or you've been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years, you want to think about the impact of rain, whether it's a little bit, a medium amount, or it's a complete washout. Because the beauty of our product is you don't have to get rained out to collect. You don't need proof of loss to collect either, and I'm going to go through that. But if you have, say, a 1/10 of an inch of rain or a 1/5 of an inch, what would something like that do to your bottom line, your expected revenue, your fixed costs, your food, the drone drops, the raffle money, on-course participation, the after the lunch or the dinner where you're going to have auctions, silent auction, where people hopefully spend money towards your charity, memorial, etc. So if you lose people because of rain, either prior to the event or during the event, that's where our weather insurance can kick in and provide the amounts that you are potentially looking to make just because you had our weather insurance in place. So I'm going to get into the presentation now, so save your questions until the end, and we'll talk to you just in a little bit. So we like to say, don't let bad weather slice into your club's bottom line. You can't predict the weather, but you can help protect your business from it. There's a myth out there that insurance agencies don't know weather, and it turns out you're talking to a bunch of weather nerds. The team that I work with and for, they're fantastic. We love weather. We've been in the business 25 years, and our team has 100 plus years of combined experience in the weather risk management industry, and we've been helping protect events since 2008 using data-driven policies that mitigate risk. So a little bit about us. We're a subsidiary of MSI Guaranteed Weather, which has been in the space for more than 25 years now. And since 2008, we've specialized in insurance products for outdoor events, fairs, festivals, concerts, jumpy castles, lacrosse, soccer tournaments, zoos, beach clubs, you name it. And in 2019, we really started focusing on golf properties and golf tournaments because we were told there was such a need out there and that weather insurance was too expensive. And we simplified it. We made it cheaper, more affordable, and easier to understand. And I'm going to get into that in a second. I'm also asked, who's our carrier, who's our paper? And the answer is Mitsui Sumitomo. We're an NGU, so we do all of the underwriting ourselves, in-house and very fast. We're rated A+ best as well, and we're admitted in all 50 states. This is me. Nice to see you. I am the National Director of Sales since 2019. I've been in the weather derivative space for over 20 years. I traded weather on Wall Street. I was a broker for Guaranteed Weather globally. I did all of their trades over 15 years before they hired me in 2019 to run their sales group. I played golf professionally. I've worked at Augusta National. I've been in the space. I'm still very involved in golf. I've run tournaments. I've played in a gazillion tournaments. So I know the pain points, whether you're trying to raise just, this is your first year and getting off the ground, or, you've been doing this a long time. I can help you as well as Josh and his team and their support system. I mean, their software and what they can offer can really elevate your event so you're in the right place. So there's a myth out there in the golf business, you can't fight Mother Nature. We say not so fast, that you can stand up to Mother Nature and help protect your revenue with Vortex. Across the country, savvy golf course operators, tournament organizers, and directors are using our rain insurance as a risk management hedge. So as a hedge, you want to think about the anticipated heavy play periods, okay, before your tournament, days before your tournament, and obviously during the morning or the afternoon of your event. We write seasonal and monthly hedges, Monday golf outings, holiday weekends. I just priced up Memorial Day, July 4th, and Labor Day for a club up on Long Island for 2026 for all of their events. Just did that this morning, actually. So holiday weekends, we can get really creative for members, member guests. And so if you have other events on top of your event and you want to dive into some other ideas, I can help you with that. We can do week-long coverage, monthly coverage for those of you who are involved in country clubs and sit on boards, etc. So what's at risk? The play-related revenue for all these tournaments and pro-ams, member guests, corporate outings, fundraisers. It's the food and the bev and the alcohol, obviously. The merch revenue that you're driving at your club. We write for demo days like the PGA show. We write for outdoor weddings and receptions, and I write for the PGA and Champions Tour. Country club events, you name it. So this is a very important slide to understand. So rain insurance versus property and casualty insurance, okay? The chance of sustaining an adverse rain occurrence for a golf event is significantly greater compared to traditional P&C events, okay? So here's the chance of a potential insurance claim on a single day over a 20-year period. Car insurance, very low. Home insurance, even lower. Now, when you look at this slide, okay, this is just as a comparison, 1/4 of an inch, just 1/4 of rain falling on any single day between June and August. So if you look at these numbers, okay, compared to the last slide, significantly higher. And it's good to understand this because, and with the climate, we're starting to see a lot more activity with rain across the country. And our stats and our data can provide information about that and support that. So when I price up your event, whether it's outside these months, I can show you historical data and guide you when we get to the pricing point and really help you understand how it works and why I'm offering, different thresholds and amounts to ultimately protect you from rain. So here's a myth that rain insurance is complex, and the good news is that Vortex makes it simple. How does it work? This is what we've been waiting for. So rain insurance is parametric. What does that word mean? So rain insurance is triggered simply if the recorded rainfall at your location meets or exceeds the threshold listed in the policy during the coverage period. Okay? Proof of loss or event cancellation is not necessary for the policy to trigger and pay a claim. And we have very quick and simple claim processing. You don't need to tell, we usually, most of the customers call us and say, hey, it was raining. But we've got a very quick and simple claim processing system. We get our data from WeatherWorks. It's recorded on the hour by the hour. We get the data. Once the report gets to us, we verify it with our data analysts and our meteorologists to make sure that the numbers are exact. And if it does trigger your policy, you're getting a check in less than 2 weeks. We get it in the mail really quickly. And the beauty of parametric insurance is that this is not indemnity. So when you get the money, if you got a check for 10, 25, 50,000 because it triggered, you can do whatever you want with it. You could pay 10,000 to the caterer. You can pay 10,000 to the golf course. You can pay sponsors or some certain people back if you need to, or you can credit them towards next year. And I could talk to you about that on the creative ways that events have used their money. I know it's expensive to get the course for the day. So, but we could talk about that afterwards. But this is basically how it works. Okay. We use WeatherWorks. WeatherWorks has several different ways of methodology reporting. And I'll send this to you when we talk in PDF, and it explains how the data is recorded. It is hyperlocal, so we come right down on top of your address at your golf course, which is very different than some providers where they might take the data from an airport. Just say the airport is 5 miles away and it was raining at your golf course and not where it's being recorded. You have basis risk in that reading. We eliminate that by coming right down on top of your property. And through the methodology of WeatherWorks, they work with the NFL, they work with Major League Baseball. They will send you that report to make sure that you see it. So basically, the WeatherWorks, we provide recorded hourly precipitation measurements as little as 1/100th of an inch, triggering rainfall thresholds as low as 0.01 with our new escalator product, and I'll talk about that in a second. So the policy options, shotgun coverage, I think we all know what that is. Hopefully it's 5 hours or less. Sometimes it's 6 hours. I get it. If you have a field of 144, and people kind of play slow. But if they're out there spending money and they're donating to your charity or memorial, that's a good thing. But we can provide, hourly options, extended hours coverage. I'll talk about that, where you might want to buy several hours before the first ball's in the air. I just had an event in Long Island where they had the golf course Sabonic for the day, and their event was from 9 to 3 for 60,000 of coverage. But he said, Eric, what happens if it rains overnight and the super or the pro comes out and says, we got an inch of rain, and you can't play? Well, they ended up buying, we talked about this, they ended up buying 9 hours of protection before the first ball's in the air, but with a very high threshold. So it wasn't very expensive because they had a tailish kind of threshold where the probability is low, but they did buy protection, and I think it was very smart. And then he bought a lower threshold for the hours of 9 to 3. And when I get to meet you all and walk you through the pricing and these kinds of ideas, I'll show you how that works. Ladder coverage, I'll show this in a second, but basically you can buy different thresholds in a policy and it pays out incrementally as the rain increases through the different thresholds. This is step insurance. And then we just launched a new escalator product because we had events, whether it was golf or a rodeo or a festival, where just say they bought, a third of an inch, 0.33, and the rain recording comes in at 0.22. They're not getting paid. But with this new escalator product, they would have gotten paid that percentage out of 0.33, depending on the amount of limit that you have. Okay, so you would be getting something back. And when I provide the quotes, I will provide the escalator on a quarter of an inch, a half an inch, and an inch. And I'll show you how that works. We've got a lot of people buying the escalator currently. Okay, parametric options. What are the options that go into a policy? The hours of coverage, right? I just had an event just by a couple of hours because their event only, it would be considered an event at a golf course if it went through just 9 holes. So with a shotgun that was up around noon, but registration starting at 10, they bought the hours from 10 to 2, which for their event, it made the most sense. Sometimes I told them that they might want to buy a few hours before, but that sat in their budget and they're very happy. Some people have the golf course for the whole day. We can get creative, and I'll show you 4-hour blocks, 6-hour, 10, 12, whatever you'd like to see. The thresholds, are as little as 0.01 with the escalator, but I can show you a 1/10 of an inch, 0.15, a quarter, and then the higher thresholds, which are not very expensive because the probability is less that it's going to happen. But I can show you that. The limits, if we do multiple days, sometimes they're 2-day events, 2 days of shotguns, big fundraisers, or you might have a gala that's outside the night before. These are the kinds of things where, you might want to protect if people, are going to be coming to a black tie or a dinner that's half out, half inside. And if it starts raining, they might say, I'm not going to come. And if you lose them, they're not spending money. And at the gala or at the dinner for the auction, silent auction, etc. So you can have a smaller policy for the gala, those kinds of things, or helicopter drops, people jumping out of planes, all kinds of things. I can help you write or put protection in place for. Okay, the use of hourly data allows us to concentrate only on the hours when rainfall could negatively impact business operations. Just say your shotgun starts at 9, okay? But people might be making a decision, say at 7 or 8 when they get up and they're about to come and it's raining. I would highly suggest that you buy weather insurance. I'd rather you take an hour off the back end and add it to the front, because if the hours of coverage are the same, but they're already at the golf course and they start getting wet on, say, 15, 16, or 17, they're going to go inside and they're going to have lunch. So it's the kind of thing where I just want you to understand that we can get very creative, that we can eliminate hours, we can add hours, I can help you save money, etc. So here's a grid of data that I can also show you. This is 2019 in the summer here in Ponte Vedra Beach. Obviously, you can see that it rains more in the afternoon here in Florida than it does in the morning. But, you know, your event right now in the Northeast where the Ryder Cup is, there's a lot of rain going on. They've been showing pictures of Bethpage, and they're just getting soaked, right? But I can show you historical data at your location to help you understand the kinds of rain that happen historically at your location. Okay, here's another myth that rain insurance is too expensive, and in reality, we have Vortex in our team. We've made it very simple. And we can help create a policy where you save money, fits your budget and your needs, and I can get creative in helping you understand those sweet spots. You know, the right amount of hours, the right amount of coverage, and the right thresholds where you feel peace of mind. You're great. You know, ultimately you want a sunny day. If you have a sunny day, you want to get done and say, you know what, our tournament maxed out. It was great, but in the event, we were happy that we paid X for the coverage in the event that, you know, rain would have come. So in the pricing, you know, the rain insurance is priced using historical probabilities at, you know, there's several factors that include the pricing differences, whether it's geographic location. Arizona is going to be different than the Northeast this time of year. We know that. Seasonality, even down here in Florida, it rains less in the winter than it does in the summer, right? So the pricing is going to be less expensive. Time of day, like I just showed, the afternoon, rains more than it does in the morning. And then obviously the duration of the risk period, the more hours, it's going to be more expensive. And the amount insured. Again, I can push and pull all of these factors so we can get the right policy, save you money, but really have you the ultimate goal of getting you the right policy in place so you're protected. So here's a grid just on $10,000 in the winter from 10 to 3. If you were to buy 0.33, that means that in between the hours of 10 to 3, it doesn't matter when the rain comes, whether it's 10:01 or 2:59. If the rain comes anytime in between those hours and it hits 0.33 or higher, you're getting $10,000 in less than 2 weeks. Here's our ladder style. In this example, if it were to rain and trigger through 0.20 but not touch 0.33 in the hours of 10 to 3, you get $15,000. If it were to rain through 0.33 and not touch 0.5, you would get the 15 and the 45, so you get $60,000. And then ultimately, if it were to rain through 0.5, you get the full 150,000 in this example. That was, again, in winter at TPC Sawgrass. Here's a country club in South Carolina. They had 3 different days for a tournament. You can see the coverage period is different, but the threshold is the same and the limit's the same. All of these days are independent. If you had charity, multi-day charity events, we can get creative and show you the kinds of things that I was talking about, where we can have a couple hours on one day, additional hours on the next. We can play around with the limits so you're covered for the heavier times where more people are going to be there, hopefully spending money. But this is just an example of an event that we put on. And here's a customer. He did have a rain date. It did trigger. He got his money really quickly. He turned around and he bought the weather insurance for his rain date as well. Very happy customer. We worked with Gary for several years. He buys every year for different events. And then here are our professional relationships. We've worked with many sections that buy from us through different types of events, PGA Reach, professional events. PGA Magazine, I did a lot of NFL charity events with them. The PGA Tour, the Travelers, Champions Tour, the Dicks, multi-year customers, they work with us several years now. Folds of Honor across the country, different sections work with us. Buffalo does all of our marketing. And obviously Josh and his team at Perfect Golf, they're the best in the business, so you're in great hands. So here's a couple of our testimonials. And Josh, as we get finished here, do we have any questions that I can help with, please?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Great job. Yeah, just a couple of questions that they messaged me. So maybe you talk a little bit more about the timing, how far in advance they need to get it, and then I guess does that impact the price?
Yeah, great question. So we encourage tournaments to buy in advance because historically the price does go up. If I were to price something today for next spring, you'd have a 45-day lock and that price won't change. Okay, but if you can make it a line item, we highly encourage that you go ahead and you bind on the early side. We do understand that some events, they're trying to raise money and the budgets are, waiting till the last minute to find people for, all the different pieces that go into a tournament. But if you do have it, we do encourage that you purchase sooner than later. Additionally, the last day to bind coverage is 15 days prior to your event. So if that falls on a weekend, that would have to be bound on a Friday. So just keep that in mind for those of you who are trying to find the funds to buy the weather insurance up until that 15th day.
Another kind of timing related question. After the event, if they had rain, how quickly do they need to get to you, and what do they need to give you for proof of coverage? Or I guess what they're saying is proof of claim.
Yes, more great questions there. So that's the beauty of it. You don't have to do anything. Usually the customers call us and say, or email and say, Eric, we had rain. When are we going to get the report? So we get the report from WeatherWorks within days. Usually it's 2 to 5 business days. Then our internal team looks at it. We send you an hourly report after that. And if it does trigger, you're getting a check in less than 2 weeks in your hands to do what you'd like with the money. So it's the process is very fast to turn around.
So I guess I just add to that too. If you are an Eagle and above customer, you will see that because it'll come to you automatically after your event. Eric's calling an expiration report. It's simply a rain report. Shows you if there was any rain, how much, and when it occurred. So even planning for next year, you would be able to see what happened this year and if there are any rain events. So I think we've got everything covered in the chat. I don't see any hands raised. Eric, great job on the presentation. So just maybe 15, 20 minutes, you'll see all this come to you by email, and you can certainly let Eric or I know if you have any questions. And Erica, if you close it out, please thank everybody for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Again, really appreciate everyone on the call taking the time today to watch the presentation. I look forward to meeting all of you either through text or email. Give me a call. I look forward to pricing up your event and answering more questions. Look forward to hearing from you. So again, thank you very much and have a great day.